200 clues, 20 rounds, and one ultimate bad description mega marathon. Today we're tackling your favourite movies, TV shows and music, but can you name them from just a single terrible sentence? From Hollywood blockbusters to chart-topping hits, how many can you get? Are you ready? Welcome everyone! We're kicking things off with a trip to the cinema. Let's head straight into round 1, family movies. Here's the first one. A group of neglected plastic items develop emotional problems when their owner gets new stuff. Yes, that was Toy Story. You'd think the toys would be used to it by now. Okay, on to number 2. A poorly designed board game traps a child for decades and then releases invasive species into a town. That was Jumanji. Yeah, why do they keep playing it? Movie number 3 then. A helicopter parent crosses the ocean to find his son with help from a woman who can't remember why she's even there. Yep, Finding Nemo. Well, she wasn't the ideal person to ask for directions. Next one. An angry swamp dweller road trips with a talking farm animal to settle a real estate dispute. Yep, it's Shrek. I think the donkey caused most of the problems, didn't it? Okay, here's number 5. A young prince runs away after a family argument and joins 2 weird guys living in the jungle. Hopefully you got it. Yep, The Lion King. Okie dokie. Movie number 6. Neglectful parents abandon their son to go on vacation, who responds by torturing 2 local men. And the answer is Home Alone. Brutal. Anyway, here's 7 on our list. A woman refuses to manage her emotions and accidentally invents eternal winter. Of course, Frozen. Yep, we'll just let it go. And now for number 8. A middle-aged man hates his office job and starts secretly going out at night again. Yes, The Incredibles. Sounds a bit like Fight Club when put like that. Okay, number 9 is... An illegal immigrant with a marmalade fixation moves to London and is immediately hunted by a high-end taxidermist. Yes, that is Paddington. Bless. And to finish off the family movies round, we have... A security guard discovers his job is basically babysitting hyperactive historical figures. Yep, Night at the Museum. Could have been at any number of legislative bodies when described like that. So that's the family movies done. Now it's time for the blockbusters, where bigger budgets mean even more ridiculous plots. Starting this round off, we have... A neglected orphan finds out he's been ignoring his mail and goes to boarding school. Well, this had to be in there somewhere. That was Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Okay, number 2 in this round is... An eccentric drunk with heavy guy liner is really bad at sailing and spends 2 hours trying to get his boat back. Yes, that's Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. Up next we have... A guy travels light years to join a blue cat cosplay community, plug his ponytail into a giant tree, and start a riot. It's Avatar. That is basically what happened. Alright, next one. A farm boy radicalizes after meeting an old man in the desert and kills millions when he blows up government property. Hopefully you got it. Star Wars: A New Hope. He never showed any remorse for that. Millions died. Here's a massive blockbuster for you. Emotionally damaged adults try to fix their mistakes by bullying a giant purple grape and fighting over jewelry. That was The Avengers Endgame. Why didn't he just double all the resources in the universe if that was the problem? Okay, for number 6 we have a plastic woman has an existential crisis because her feet go flat, then accidentally invents feminism for men. The correct answer is Barbie. Poor Ken. Still, the guy won an Oscar. Here's your next terrible description. A government official gets demoted, goes to North Africa for professional development, then returns to stab his boss. That's actually the plot of Gladiator. Indeed. Number 8 is an aging alcoholic refuses to retire and ruins a perfectly nice house in Scotland. Did you get this? Yes, it was Skyfall. Classic James Bond. Okay, next we have a billionaire engages in some aggressive couples therapy with a clown who likes magic tricks. And the answer is The Dark Knight. Yeah, where did the pencil go? And the last in this round is rural man's idyllic life is ruined after receiving unsolicited jewelry. Yeah, that's the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring. But unlike the Balrog, we shall pass from these blockbusters, as now it's time for the romance round, where good-looking but emotionally unavailable people eventually kiss in the rain. Here's the first one. A man helps a woman find her voice and a Grammy, then has a trouser accident on stage. Yes, it's A Star Is Born. There was a huge line for the restrooms, apparently. Okay, number 2. A teenager goes on holiday, learns one dance move, and suddenly believes she can fix systemic class inequality. If you said Dirty Dancing, you're correct. One successful lift can do wonders for social justice. Okay, next is two neurotics spend 12 years annoying each other until they realise nobody else will want them. And the answer is When Harry Met Sally. Yep, that's pretty accurate. On to 4 now. A shy bookshop owner learns that dating a celebrity is mostly apologising for existing. Yes, that one was Notting Hill. Okie dokie. Number 5 then. A dead man refuses to move on because he's jealous of a pottery wheel. That was Ghost. Right. Up next is two teenagers meet, make eye contact for 4 seconds, and ruin the lives of 2 entire families. Yes, of course, Romeo and Juliet. It had such a cool soundtrack. So, number 7. 3 men are dragged to a Greek island and emotionally manipulated by Swedish pop music. Well, that only describes Mamma Mia, doesn't it? Okay, number 8. A woman lets a man drown to avoid sharing a door. Oof, yeah, that one's Titanic. That door really could have held 2. Next up we have a man renovates a house to guilt a woman into leaving her fiancé. Yes, it's The Notebook. Some consider this the most romantic film ever made, so there we are. And completing the romance round, we have a widow receives letters from her dead husband, proving that even in the afterlife, men refuse to communicate directly. Yes, that was P.S. I Love You. Yep, sounds about right. Okay, so what can be more ridiculous than a Hollywood romance? Well, now it's time for the comedy round. The plots are absurd, even with a normal description. Here we go then. A homeschooled girl moves to the suburbs and joins a cult of well-dressed sociopaths. Yes, it's Mean Girls, typical high schoolers really. For number 2, we have an unemployed man commits identity fraud to force children into his personal midlife crisis band. Yes, School of Rock, a very touching movie indeed. Next we have, after losing custody, a desperate father uses pro-level prosthetics just to avoid using the agreed custody schedule. The answer is, of course, Mrs. Doubtfire, another involving children and identity fraud. The next one's different. Number 4. 3 men lose their best friend on a rooftop and spend a day wandering around Las Vegas asking a tiger for directions. Well, of course, that's The Hangover. Rightio. Okay, next one. An adult man refuses to stop hanging out with his childhood toy. Yes, that one's Ted. I know some guys who are like that. Anyway. For 6, we have a woman's life implodes because her best friend gets a new friend with shinier confidence. That was Bridesmaids. Anyway. Okay, 7 now. An overachieving policeman discovers that village residents take neighborhood watch far too seriously. Yes, Hot Fuzz. It's for the greater good. Number 8. A man tracks down his prom date and accidentally provides her with the worst hair product ever. Good God, yes, there's something about Mary. She had just run out, apparently. On to 9. Annoying man screams at people until missing animals reappear. Yes, if you said Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, then you get the point. Okay, now for the last comedy. Weather reporter abuses time travel because tomorrow doesn't exist for him. Of course, that one was Groundhog Day. Given the chance, most would probably do the same. So that was the final comedy description. So now we have the final round, biopics. Real people, real events, wildly oversimplified descriptions. Let's start with this one. A college student creates a way for everyone on Earth to argue with their relatives in exchange for their personal data. Yep, that was The Social Network, telling the story of charisma black hole Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, number 2. A taxi fare dodger escapes homelessness through the power of a Rubik's Cube. Yes, that one is The Pursuit of Happiness. Goes to show, even inspirational investment banking stories begin with stiffing the everyday working man. How heartwarming. Next up, A man rebuilds a baseball team through the blind faith of someone who has clearly never opened Excel before. Yep, it's Moneyball, where Brad Pitt spends 2 hours explaining data analysis to confused adults. Okay, and now we have... A woman with no legal training takes down a corporation with attitude, persistence, and intimidating outfits. Well, if you said Erin Brockovich, you get the point. Okay. Number 5 in our biopic round is Man with iconic hips becomes too famous to live a normal life. Yes, all about the king of rock and roll, Elvis. Next we have a hat enthusiast invents a large bomb and is surprised when people want to use it. Yep, that was Oppenheimer. Cool hat at least. Number 7 then. A man commits every financial crime imaginable while high enough to forget how legs work. That's right, The Wolf of Wall Street. A solid reminder not to trust overly confident strangers with stock tips. On to number 8. A socially awkward mathematics genius is rewarded by being prosecuted by the government he just saved. Yes, The Imitation Game. Some gratitude, eh? Okay, our penultimate movie. A man paints his face and starts a long argument with England. Of course, it's Braveheart. It continues to this day. And for the final terrible description, we have an iconic band spends half their time arguing and the other half trying to keep up with Freddie Mercury. Of course, it could only be Bohemian Rhapsody. Indeed. 50 movies down, but we are just getting started. Stay in your seats for part 2 of our movie gauntlet. Let's start things off with the type of movie where people love landing on one knee from a great height. Superhero movies. Starting things off with this one. A billionaire weapons builder has a change of heart after briefly experiencing consequences. Yes, Iron Man. Well, what did he think his missiles were used for? On to number 2. A sheltered islander leaves her perfectly nice home to fix World War I using optimism and a magic rope. That was Wonder Woman, and incidentally, she didn't fix World War I. Moving away from Marvel and DC for movie number 3. A clueless teenager buys a green scuba suit and decides to fight crime. This one is Kick-Ass. Great film. Next up we have an anxious high schooler begs a wizard to fix his messy social life and accidentally shatters the entire multiverse. That was Spider-Man No Way Home. Oops. Here's number 5. A farm boy moves to the city and suplexes some visitors through several office buildings. Yes, it's Man of Steel. He leveled half the city. Alright, for number 6. A group of convicted misfits listen to mixtapes and stop a blue man from stealing a shiny rock. Well, if you said Guardians of the Galaxy, well done. Here's 7 on our list. A rich guy trains with a ninja cult, then goes home to fight a guy wearing a burlap sack. Yes, another origin story. It's Batman Begins. I think some therapy would have been easier. Now for number 8. A king fights his long-lost cousin for the right to wear a catsuit. Yes, I know, another animal cosplaying superhero origin story. That was Black Panther. On to the next one. A cigar-smoking government employee files down his horns to hide his obvious daddy issues. Another indie comic hit, Hellboy. Rightio, and to bring the first round to an epic conclusion, a group of solo heroes are forced to share a movie because an adopted brother throws a tantrum over a glowing cube. Of course, it's the Avengers. Makes me a bit peckish for some shawarma. So that's the superheroes done. Time to swap the capes for sweatbands. Round 7 is sports movies, where the power of teamwork solves everything from institutional corruption to a severe lack of talent. Starting this round in the freezing cold, 4 Caribbean men travel to Canada to slide down a frozen gutter in a metal bathtub. It could only be Cool Runnings, couldn't it? Classic. Number 2 is an angry ice hockey player joins a golf tournament to save his grandma's house. Yes, Happy Gilmore. It taught us all that the best way to improve your golf swing is unadulterated rage. Up next we have an American corporation spends millions to prove its car goes faster than a fancy Italian one. That was Ford versus Ferrari. It was a midlife crisis for an entire company. Right, next one. A drunk driver is made to babysit a group of uncoordinated children on frozen water. The correct answer is The Mighty Ducks. Well, I hope they got someone else to drive them to the games. Okay, number 5 is a classic. A bullied teenager does his mentor's household chores for several weeks. Wax on, wax off, that was The Karate Kid. Okay, let's see what you make of this next one. A couple of basketball players run a lucrative hustle based entirely on weaponized stereotypes. Yep, white men can't jump. I certainly can't. Number 7 is a girl wants to kick a ball around a field while everyone she knows wants her to stop immediately. That one is Bend It Like Beckham, back when low-rise jeans were the height of fashion. Okay, moving on to 8. A man who slurs his speech runs upstairs and loses a boxing match. Well, that only describes Rocky, doesn't it? Okay. This next one sounds incredibly painful. A lazy gym owner fights off a corporate hostile takeover using a sport teachers invented to punish children. Yes, that one is Dodgeball, a true underdog story. As they say, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. And the last in this round is 2 men who hate each other are forced to hold hands professionally. Blades of Glory. Ice skating, but they make it aggressively heterosexual. Bless them. So, moving swiftly on. It's time to don disguises and check the security feeds, because now we turn to the heist round. Good luck, everyone. We'll start with this. A man gathers 10 attractive friends to prove casinos are easy to rob if you're charming enough. Of course, that's Ocean's 11. A frankly unreasonable amount of jawlines, that film. Okay, on to number 2. Incompetent London criminals lose a massive diamond to a squeaky dog. Do you like Dags? That was Snatch. Next up is a retired car thief comes back for one final job and immediately tries to steal 50 cars at once. Yep, gone in 60 seconds. 50 cars, God, most people struggle to find their keys. On to 4 now. An FBI agent accidentally joins a surfing cult. The correct answer is Point Break. As undercover operations go, this one got very out of hand. Approaching the halfway mark, here is a proper classic for number 5. Tiny cars are driven through the sewers of Turin while a man shouts instructions at people who ignore him. You were only supposed to blow the bloody doors off? That was the Italian Job. Up next is a getaway driver with an iPod obsession works off a debt to his boss by doing one last job several times. Yes, Baby Driver. Right. Our 7th heist is 4 magicians commit felonies using the power of friendship and poorly explained CGI. Do you know? That was Now You See Me. Magic, crime, and absolutely no explanation for either. For our next criminal enterprise we have a man walks into a bank vault, builds a tiny cupboard, and just sits there. It's Inside Man. Yep, that pretty much sums it up. Next we have 2 alpha males are emotionally obsessed with each other but refuse to admit it, so they settle for shooting up Los Angeles. Well, if you guessed Heat, you get the point. And completing the heist round with a total lack of realism, a family of superhuman mechanics drag a giant metal box through Brazil because subtlety died several movies ago. And that can only be Fast 5. I remember when those movies were just about racing Hondas. Well, now we come to the Oscar winners. Amazing acting, beautiful cinematography, and absolutely terrible plot summaries. We're going to start with this one. A teenager from the slums is grilled by police because he's suspiciously good at a televised pub quiz. Remember? That was Slumdog Millionaire. The police should have just let him phone a friend. Yep, I'll get my coat. For number 2 we have a man with writer's block invents fan fiction about himself and condemns English students for the next 400 years. Yes, Shakespeare in Love. Yeah, thanks, William. Up next is a man refuses to learn new technology and punishes himself by making a movie with absolutely no dialogue. That was The Artist. Okay. Number 4 then. A genius mathematician is bad at teamwork and spends decades on top secret government missions that don't exist. The answer is A Beautiful Mind, a truly heartwarming tale of severe, unmedicated psychosis. This next one is for anyone who hates public speaking. An eccentric Australian makes some nervous guy swear until he learns how to read a microphone properly. Yes, that could only be the King's Speech. Right. For number 6 we have racism is solved after a pianist hires a grumpy Uber driver. If you said Green Book, then give yourself a little point. Okay. 7 now. A poor family get jobs by lying on their CVs and discover that rich people are surprisingly easy to fool. That is a description of Parasite, the first non-English language film to win Best Picture. So there we are. Time for a weird romance. A mute cleaner falls in love with a fish and everyone around her just sort of accepts it. Yes, The Shape of Water. Don't say. If it doesn't work out, there are plenty more fish in the sea. On to 9. An exhausted laundromat owner gets audited by the tax office and accidentally shatters space-time with a hot dog. That was Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah, doing taxes can be like that. And for our final, incredibly long Oscar winner. After 3 hours, a bearded guy gets crowned, sings a song, and everyone just stands there awkwardly and watches. That reductive description is for Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. I loved it. And so we reach the final round. Real life doesn't have background dancers, but this round certainly does. It's time for musicals. Let's raise the curtains with this one. A girl enters a country and immediately kills a woman and then teams up with some local eccentrics to kill another woman. That is surprisingly The Wizard of Oz. She even takes the woman's shoes. Number 2. A boy has the audacity to ask for seconds and accidentally triggers a crime spree. That was Oliver. They say it's a slippery slope from porridge to pickpocketing. And now we have a billionaire adopts a loud, brash orphan who spends the whole time looking for parents she doesn't need anymore. Yes, it's a hard knock life. That one is Annie. Next is a writer in Paris falls in love with a woman paid to make men do exactly that, and is shocked it causes problems. Another musical with an exclamation mark, that is Moulin Rouge. Okay, number 5 in our final round is a teenager fights 1960s racism using dance moves and very committed hair volume. That one is Hairspray. Brilliant. This next one's for the relationship advice columns. A high school girl changes her personality, wardrobe, and core values just to keep a boy with greasy hair interested. Oh, Sandy. The answer is Grease. Number 7 then. A man steals a loaf of bread and spends nearly 2 decades being chased by an overreacting policeman. My French pronunciation is really getting a workout in this round. That was Les Miserables. So, on to number 8. A man invents show business by exploiting unusual looking people and calling it empowerment. The answer is The Greatest Showman. Well, the more things change, eh? Okay, the penultimate movie now. 2 stubborn artists choose their careers over each other, settling for a longing stare in a jazz club years later. That one is La La Land. They do get a brief moment of imagining what could have been, which is either beautiful or deeply cruel, depending on your mood. Oh well. And for the final terrible description of the quiz, we have: a governess ignores the curriculum and just teaches children how to sing before fleeing over a mountain. Well, that pretty much sums up The Sound of Music, am I right? And that is a wrap for the movie descriptions. Next up, we're channel surfing straight into television. Before we do, make sure to subscribe so you never miss our regular trivia uploads. So let's start with the already ridiculous sitcoms. Here's the first one. 6 underemployed adults comfortably survive the economic realities of Manhattan by hoarding a specific coffee shop couch. Yes, that was Friends. Seemingly, we were on a break also applied to their work hours. Okay, on to number 2. Board paper merchants endure a desperate manager's constant pleas for validation. And the answer is The Office. For number 3, socially confused academics fail to speak to women while a laugh track demands compliance at every geek reference. Bazinga, it's The Big Bang Theory. I can't believe I just said that. Next is 3 dysfunctional households prove that therapy would probably be cheaper than buying oversized suburban homes. Yes, it's Modern Family. I'm not sure therapy would be cheaper. Here's number 5. A father traps his captive children in a 9-year narrative detailing the mistakes that led to their existence. Hopefully you got it. How I Met Your Mother, the world's longest answer to a very short question. For sitcom number 6, heavily armed municipal employees use workplace pranks to cope with New York bureaucracy. If you said Brooklyn Nine-Nine, then give yourself a little point. Okay. Here's 7 on our list. Aggressively cheerful local officials wage intense political wars over a giant dirt pit. Of course, Parks and Recreation, an uncomfortably accurate portrayal of local politics. On to number 8. A hotelier alienates every guest through poor customer service, then blames staff, foreigners, or his wife. Yes, Fawlty Towers. Classic. Right, number 9 is 2 basement technicians solve IT problems by turning devices off and on while their boss misunderstands computers. Yes, that is the IT Crowd. Never forget when Jen thought the entire internet lived inside a tiny metal box. Brilliant. And to finish off the sitcoms we have 2 men share a flat and narrate their internal monologues, which are somehow worse than their actual behaviour. Yep, Peep Show. Intrusive thoughts, but with a camera crew. Right, sitcoms done. Let's ditch the canned laughter for moody lighting in the drama round. Starting this off, we have a chemistry teacher opts for spectacularly unconventional life insurance. Yes, that was Breaking Bad. A chemistry degree can open unexpected doors. Number 2 in this round is a rude doctor insults everyone until somebody accidentally mentions the correct diagnosis. Yes, that's House. Remember, it is never ever lupus. Up next we have a waste management consultant goes to therapy because he's having panic attacks about ducks in his pool. Yes, it's The Sopranos. Fantastic. Okay, number 4 is police officers investigate other police officers using acronyms in small rooms and resolve almost nothing. Hopefully you got it. Line of Duty. Gripping, if slightly inconclusive. Here's a sweaty one for you. A stressed chef yells at food, people, and the concept of restaurants for an entire series. Yes, chef, that was The Bear. For 6, 4 wealthy, emotionally stunted siblings spend years desperately trying to get a hug from their terrible father. The correct answer is Succession, based on the Murdochs apparently. Your next terrible description is men in hats slow-mo through smoky industrial landscapes while muttering threats nobody fully understands. Of course, that's Peaky Blinders. Pretty sure Cillian Murphy has a contractual requirement to walk through smoke in slow motion at least once an episode. Number 8 is an insufferable genius uses basic observation to solve crimes faster than anyone can tolerate. Did you get this? Yes, it was Sherlock. Turns out being a genius doesn't compensate for a total lack of social skills. Okay, next up is a blood spatter analyst hides his murderous nighttime hobby by bringing donuts to the Miami police every morning. That one was Dexter. I'm willing to overlook a lot for free donuts. And the last in this round is a moody detective stands on a windy beach, shouts at a colleague, and makes a seaside town look deeply depressing. Yes, that's Broadchurch. Dorset is lovely, but maybe not this bit. So that was the final drama description. Now we're going from serious to surreal with the animation round. Here we go then. A clueless nuclear safety inspector and his family refuse to age or change clothes across 4 decades of history. Yes, it's The Simpsons. Bart's been 10 years old since the Berlin Wall came down. Okay, number 2. A talking dog and an evil infant tolerate a dense New England man's constant cutaway gags. Well, if you said Family Guy, you're correct. It's fairly accurate. Okay, next is foul-mouthed kids process late-stage capitalism while their parents consistently make the worst possible decisions. And the answer is South Park. Amazingly puerile and surprisingly insightful. On to 4 now. A dangerously optimistic kitchen worker torments his cynical neighbour while residing inside a tropical fruit. Yes, that one was SpongeBob SquarePants. I think a lot of adults sympathise with the squid. Number 5. An alcoholic scientist drags his traumatised grandson across infinite realities to avoid his own deep loneliness. That was Rick and Morty. Poor Morty. Up next is a delivery crew barely delivers anything while the robot insults everyone with impressive consistency. Yeah, of course, Futurama. Great show. Okay, number 7. 4 unlicensed investigators and a talking dog repeatedly dismantle organised elder fraud schemes. The answer is Scooby-Doo. Those meddling kids, eh? On to number 8. A quarry worker replicates 1960s appliance envy using only rocks and dinosaurs. It could only be the Flintstones, couldn't it? They have better home appliances than I do. Next up we have 2 aggressively unintelligent metalheads snicker at a television screen while demanding toilet paper. Yes, it's Beavis and Butthead. I loved that show as a kid. And completing the animation round is a family of Australian dogs invent elaborate games that make human parents feel completely inadequate. Yes, that was Bluey, the children's show secretly judging your parenting. So that's animation dealt with. Now for the genre requiring no writers, no actors, and no self-awareness, reality TV. Let's kick things off with strangers argue loudly in a house they can't leave and slowly discover why prisons have solitary confinement. Yes, it's Big Brother, cabin fever televised. For number 2 we have an angry chef swears at clueless restaurant owners until they downsized their menu. Another shouty chef, Gordon Ramsay's kitchen nightmares. Rightio. Next is adults voluntarily surrender food and shelter, then form shifting political alliances with the paranoia of a failed state. The answer is, of course, Survivor, democracy, but with coconuts and backstabbing. Our 4th reality TV show is amateur bakers apologise profusely after producing desserts that most people would happily pay for. Well, of course, that's the Great British Bake Off, or the Great British Baking Show as it's also known. A soggy bottom doesn't mean what you think it does. Number 5. Business hopefuls fail basic tasks while pretending they're future CEOs. Well, if you didn't get that one, you're fired. It's The Apprentice. For 6 we have talented performers compete to be the most fabulous while delivering drama, glitter, and cheeky innuendos. That was RuPaul's Drag Race. Fabulous indeed. 7 now. Adults spend weeks playing Mafia in a castle before acting shocked that somebody lied. That's right, it's The Traitors. I mean, what do they expect? Number 8. Highly manicured singles exchange shallow conversation inside a Mediterranean villa for corporate sponsorships. Yes, Love Island. Romance sponsored by teeth whitening. On to 9. Singers perform for spinning chairs operated by celebrities who then make the audition entirely about themselves. If you said The Voice, then you get a little point. Now for the last reality show. Couples volunteer to test their healthy relationships via extreme sleep deprivation and international cab disputes. Of course, that one was The Amazing Race. Forget marriage counselling, just make a couple navigate a crowded market in Delhi with an upside-down map. And thankfully that was the final reality TV description. Time to recover from the cringe and escape into fantasy and sci-fi. Let's start with this one. Noble families massacre each other over an uncomfortable chair while ignoring a looming apocalypse. Yeah, but that was Game of Thrones. That chair was a huge tetanus risk. Number 2. An immortal alien repeatedly grooms impressionable humans before whisking them off in a blue box. Oof, it's Doctor Who. Unfortunately, that's pretty accurate. Okay, the next one was huge. Nerdy kids fight monsters with the help of Kate Bush, Metallica, and the weaponized nostalgia of the 1980s. Yep, Stranger Things. I know it's streaming, but I'm going to include it as television. And now, a helmeted man babysits a highly lucrative green puppet. If you said The Mandalorian, you get the point. I hope whoever invented Baby Yoda got a pay rise. Number 5 in our final round is a high schooler discovers her extracurriculars include occult extermination and supernatural relationship drama. Yes, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a 90s classic. Next we have a grunting mutant hunts monsters for loose change and bathes a lot more than expected. Yep, that was The Witcher. The baths were just an excuse to get Henry Cavill naked. Number 7 then. Plane crash survivors ignore rescue logistics entirely so they can endure years of smoke monsters and zero answers. Yes, it's Lost, which actually describes the viewers. On to number 8. New technology is invented solely to prove humanity cannot be trusted with new technology. Yes, Black Mirror. Every episode begins with innovation and ends with regret. Okay, our penultimate show is survivors flee shuffling corpses just to get captured by a new baseball bat wielding psychopath every single season. Of course, it's The Walking Dead. He was always looking for Carl. And for the final terrible description, we have 2 FBI agents wander through dark rooms with flashlights looking for aliens instead of admitting they fancy each other. Well, that could only be the X-Files, couldn't it? The truth was out there, so was the tension. Neither got resolved quickly. For our final 5 rounds, we are tackling some of the worst music descriptions ever written. Let's see if you can finish this marathon strong. Here is round 16, Party Starters. Here's the first one. A costumed troupe enthusiastically recommends a youth club while spelling letters with their arms. Of course, that's YMCA by the Village People. If more men took their advice, we'd probably all be better off. Next up is a 17-year-old dances in a nightclub and receives a level of admiration usually reserved for royalty. You got this one? Yep, ABBA with Dancing Queen. Unfortunately, it's all downhill after being crowned at 17. Number 3 on our list. A small child experiences heartbreak and immediately launches a professional music career with his 4 brothers. Yes, that's the Jackson 5 with I Want You Back. I think history has shown that there was nothing strange about that, nothing at all. Let's misinterpret this next one. A group confidently predicts an amazing night despite having absolutely no plan beyond shouting about it repeatedly. The correct answer is I Got a Feeling by the Black Eyed Peas. Okay. Bringing us to number 5 is A man tortures himself imagining what his ex-girlfriend is doing at a party, but says he's doing just fine. That was The Killers with Mr. Brightside. He was not, for the record, doing just fine. Moving swiftly on. A flight attendant willingly consumes hazardous chemicals because she finds a passenger exceptionally attractive. If you guess Toxic by Britney Spears, then you get the point. Pop stars masquerading as flight attendants is a massive breach of airline security protocols, but never mind. Next is, a daughter explains to her parents that girls prefer enjoyment over responsibility. That was Girls Just Want to Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper. In my opinion, an absolute gem of a song. Item number 8 is, a couple of anonymous robots and a guest vocalist stay awake all night purely to improve their reproductive odds. Yes, Get Lucky by Daft Punk featuring Pharrell Williams. I wonder if they actually did get lucky. And now we have, a singer cheerfully explains that lifelong romance is impossible while forcing everyone to shake Polaroid pictures. That was, of course, Hey Ya by Outkast. Okie dokie. And the last song in this round is, two older Spaniards use mass synchronized arm movements to happily celebrate a woman who cheats on her boyfriend. Yes, Macarena by Los Del Rio. Millions of children at primary school discos joyfully jumping 90 degrees to celebrate severe relationship infidelity. A beautiful cultural tradition. And that's the final party starter. Let's move on now to the one-hit wonders round. Proof that sometimes lightning does strike exactly once. Kicking things off, several men ask an important question about animal containment, but never receive a satisfactory answer. That was Who Let the Dogs Out by the Baha Men. 25 years, and we've never had a decent answer for that. Next up, a commitment-phobic womanizer rations fractional measurements of affection to Monica, Erica, and Rita. And that pretty much describes Mambo number 5 by Lou Bega. What a catch, eh, ladies? For number 3, a man confidently believes he is too attractive for his upper body garment. A true cultural milestone, it's I'm Too Sexy by Right Said Fred. And now, a plastic child's toy invites inappropriate public physical contact under the guise of family-friendly entertainment. Yep, Barbie Girl by Aqua. Honestly, if a toy ever invited me to touch it in public, I'd simply leave the shop. Well, now we have, a naked man blends into a wall mural to insist he cares nothing about his ex-girlfriend by writing a song about her. If you said Somebody That I Used to Know by Gotcha, featuring Kimbra, then you get the point. Okay, number 6 is, an unclean teenager ignores a severe campus firearm threat to focus on his unrequited crush and Iron Maiden. That was Wheatus with Teenage Dirtbag. Teenagers are remarkably good at prioritizing the wrong things. Can you get this one? A man borrows someone else's bass line, adds some words about how cool he is, and asks you to stop. That reductive description is for Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice. He famously insisted it was a completely different bass line. Clearly, it was not. Our next disturbingly accurate description is: traumatized singers accuse visual entertainment technology of violently eliminating an audio performer. Yes, Buggles with Video Killed the Radio Star. It was the first video ever played on MTV in 1981, so there we are. For number 9, we have: the end of human civilization in a nuclear war is cheerfully explained via an upbeat German synth pop song. Did you get it? It's 99 Luftballons by Nina. And to close out the one-hit wonders, a collective of anarcho-punks describe an irresponsible pattern of binge drinking. The correct answer is Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba, mixing a whiskey drink, a vodka drink, a lager drink, and a cider drink. He didn't get knocked down, he just kept falling over. And that's the end of the one-hit wonders. It's time to turn the amps up to 11 with the rock anthems round. Our first rock anthem is: two strangers ride a midnight train while a singer aggressively orders them not to lose faith. Well, that could only be Don't Stop Believing by the band Journey. It taught us South Detroit is actually in Canada. For our second rock anthem, we have: a guy in a bandana explains how a face reminds him of somewhere, and then at the end, he repeatedly asks for directions. Yes, that is Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses. 5 minutes being nostalgic, and then 1 minute being confused. For number 3, a dock worker and a waitress realise they are only halfway there. Well, that pretty much sums up Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi, doesn't it? Okay, up next we have: a Mancunian sings a made-up word and dooms all future parties whenever someone pulls out an acoustic guitar. Any idea? That is Wonderwall by Oasis. I'm still none the wiser as to what a Wonderwall is. Okay, moving on to number 5. A traveller visits a luxury resort only to discover the checkout policy is purely metaphorical. Well, that could only be Hotel California by the Eagles. One presumes the exit is somewhere in the guitar solo. And now we have: for 3 minutes, a guy from Birmingham complains about his mental health because his brain is bored. That is Paranoid by Black Sabbath. Classic. Number 7 then. An awkward introvert whispers about feeling weird, drops an F-bomb, and screams that he isn't special. Aww. The answer is Creep by Radiohead. Like Wonderwall, it's another song that's plagued house parties whenever someone's pulled out an acoustic guitar. Thanks, Tom. Number 8 on our list is: a man returns wearing dark clothing and doesn't stop talking about the fact that he is back. Got this? Yes, that is Back in Black by the one and only AC/DC. Right, here's the next one. Flannelled misfits incite a high school gym riot by screaming incoherent poetry about insects and libido. Yes, Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. Somewhere, a lyric website is still trying its best. And our final rock anthem could only be this one. A young man confesses to murder, enters an operatic fever dream, and forces everyone to headbang in a car. Well, if you guessed Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, you get the point. Nothing says timeless rock masterpiece quite like a 6-minute operatic existential crisis. So that's the rock anthems finished. Next up are the soundtracks. Proof that every great film is only one power ballad away from being even more ridiculous. The first on our list is a song written entirely to answer the question, who are you going to call? Of course, that's Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr. Conveniently, they put the answer in the title. Next is a woman survives a maritime disaster and confirms at considerable vocal length that she has not moved on. Well, if you didn't get this, I'm disappointed. It was My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. Okay, and now for number 3. A high-energy pop anthem commands the listener to immediately remove their Sunday footwear. Yes, Footloose by Kenny Loggins. Honestly, if removing footwear solved all my problems, I'd be unstoppable. Moving along. A pianist asks a series of deeply personal, evening-themed questions about sensory romantic perception. And the answer is Can You Feel the Love Tonight by Elton John, a beautiful track about the mating habits of African wildlife. On to number 5 then. A charismatic federal agent uses hip-hop to explain illegal memory wiping protocols and extraterrestrial conspiracies. Yep, that was Men in Black by Will Smith. I bet he'd love a memory wiping device after that incident at the Oscars. Oh, Will. Next up is a woman dramatically predicts total atmospheric collapse while a spy refuses to die for like the 23rd time. Do you know? It's Skyfall by Adele. Apparently she wrote it in 10 minutes. Impressive. And now, a feline-themed motivational anthem chronicles the strict dietary habits and intense optical focus of an aggressive prize fighter. Of course, that one is Eye of the Tiger by Survivor, rocking the revolutionary look with that beret there. The 8th of this round is a singer utilizes a dramatic instrumental drop to scream about her eternal love for her former bodyguard at extreme volume. Yes, that's I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston. Okie dokie. For number 9, we have 3 brothers provide surprisingly catchy advice about not dying. If you said Staying Alive by the Bee Gees, you're correct. Medical professionals actually recommend using the rhythm of this track to perform CPR. It's appropriate, really. And to finish the round, a man receives one opportunity and spends 5 minutes explaining why he shouldn't waste it. That is Lose Yourself by Eminem from the movie 8 Mile. Never to be confused with Vanilla Ice. Okay then. And that concludes the soundtrack round, leaving us with the viral hits, where traditional marketing is completely replaced by erratic smartphone choreography. We begin the final round with this one. A Korean man in sunglasses breaks the entire internet by performing an equestrian dance routine in an elevator. Somehow this went to number 1. It's Gangnam Style by Psy, a video so popular it literally broke the YouTube view counter. Sticking with horse riding for number 2, a TikTok cowboy refuses to stop riding an imaginary horse even when Billboard removed him from their country chart. Yes, if you said Old Town Road by Lil Nas X, you get the point. Up next, we have bored whaling crews harmonise on TikTok while waiting for sugar and rum deliveries mid-pandemic. Written by unknown New Zealand sailors, that was Wellerman. Yeah, lockdown was a strange time for all of us. More TikTok with number 4. TikTok users create a dance routine for a factual and surprisingly detailed account of a Russian holy man. Yes, Rah Rah Rasputin by Boney M. Somehow the weirdest part of the song is that most of it is true. Okay, the next description is: a woman threatening violent homicide at a nightclub reaps the rewards of the Saltburn effect 22 years later. And the correct answer is Murder on the Dance Floor by Sophie Ellis-Bextor. Okay. And now we have a man skateboards while drinking juice, causing a 1977 song about coincidental weather conditions to re-enter civilization. Yes, it's Dreams by Fleetwood Mac. Fleetwood Mac's social media team couldn't have planned it better. Okay, let's see if you recognise this one. A woman goes on about uphill exercise, then becomes chart relevant again thanks to supernatural teenage trauma. Of course, Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush. I think Spotify owes Vecna a commission. Speaking of Stranger Things, a spooky rock band crucifies the wrong biblical figure, which is somehow perfect for a Stranger Things fan edit. Give yourself a point if you said Mary on a Cross by Ghost. Somewhere, a theology teacher just sighed. And our penultimate song description: a bored, unblinking goth dances at the school prom, accidentally causing this unrelated 2011 pop track to trend. Yes, Bloody Mary by Lady Gaga. In Wednesday, she actually dances to Goo Goo Muck by the Cramps, but TikTok wasn't quite ready for the Cramps, so people started pairing the dance with Bloody Mary instead. Anyway, the final description is: a man vows eternal devotion while secretly plotting to prank the entire internet. That was, of course, Never Gonna Give You Up by the one and only Rick Astley. If you managed to get through this entire quiz without realising you were walking straight into a trap, I can only apologise. And that is the end of our bad description mega marathon. Let us know your final score in the comments, and if you have any terrible descriptions of your own, we'd love to hear them. We hope you enjoyed this pop culture quiz. If you did, a like is very much appreciated. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next challenge. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. Until next time, cheerio.